Computer's never right.
All right, let's call to order the regular board meeting of USD 420. Did everybody see the agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Delegation, I don't believe there is any.
No.
Consent agenda. Any questions on either minutes, the regular meeting and a special meeting? Any correspondence?
No.
All right, treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report, I'll go on back to that. Just some things to highlight, on 4/1, April 1, we did get some general state aid. We also got, in general, some special ed flow through, and you can see that 144,503 bounces in, bounces back out. Nothing more on that page. Second page, Capers money, we had some Capers flow through also on 4/15. Not much on there this month. Petty cash, we need $140.90 for the high school reimbursement. I'm gonna flip back to payment of the bills. Page 1, and you might have seen something, we had these out initially and we took one bill off. And I'll talk about that, so you might have seen a different number than what we have here, but I'll talk about that. On page 1, Conrad Insurance Group, about almost a little more than halfway down. That's our cybersecurity, 2587. We have some cradle to career, take flight training. That is for dyslexia training. Kathy Reed gets trained in that. So she's our dyslexia expert. There was a bill for Huddle. Huddle is our, it was $59.49, but we took that off and we're gonna pay it as late as we can. Huddle is that filming program that the coaches use per sport. And we're just, instead of paying for that or all up front now, we're gonna pay for each sport as late as we can. You have to do fall and then basketball. So football, volleyball, and basketball. So we'll probably see that again, but we're trying to push that down the road a little bit.
So is that a one-time bill or we pay that?
It's annual.
So it's it pays for all the sports, not each sport pays that.
Right, it's that bill that I just said was for all of them, so it might be broken down, but
Gotcha.
it might, we don't wanna pay for it all. Yeah, we're gonna try to wait on it as much as we can. On page 2, McCoy's Electronic, we had to get a couple of hot spots. Andy, we bought 2, really 3 hot spots for some different kids, and we get those back, but those are to help some of our kids that could not get on an internet connection. One was for Verizon, one was for AT&T, and one was a
The other one wasn't a hotspot, it was a quick home
Quick Home.
out in Basket.
Yeah, so we had 2 or 3 kids and we had to get on the internet. Some of them were tied to Washburn Tech and it was crucial. I mean, it's crucial anyway, but really crucial. Some of them were graduation crucial. So that's what those were. Midwest Laser Leveling, $2,700. That's for the last work that was done on the field, and that included deep tine aeration, weed control, and fertilizer. And football field looks fantastic right now if you haven't seen it. Nobody's been on it, but it looks great. Lots of rain. Only thing else I see is down at the bottom, there's the total bill for the painting of the gym is $10,800 and paid him up front to get started. He starts on the day after Memorial Day, 26th. He'll start on the gym. And then Three Lakes Educational Co-op flow through is there. So there's the bills.
What have we noticed in our utility bills? It dropped?
It's dropped the last 2 months, over the last 2 months from the previous year's last 2 months. That was about, just a minute, I'll tell you. I have it. About $9,000 we've saved there. That's for that would be for March and April.
So that's what.
Over last year, yeah. Well, it was a lot more in April than it was in March. It was about $6,000 less in March than it was,
We were certainly.
last year.
Right?
yeah. Or it was about $6,000 less in April than it was last year in April. And same thing where we've, those are the two places where we've seen some savings is in just the utilities not being in here and fuel. We saved about, in the last 2 months compared to last year, about, just this last month's about 4,000. But the last 2 months, if you add them together, it'd be about 5,800 in fuel with no gas, no buses running. So that's where the gist of if we had any savings, that's where it'd be. So that 15,000 in the last 2 months in those two areas. We've spent less than we did the previous year. Addendums, we're sitting about on the general fund about 31% left, which is right in the ballpark of where we normally are, and about 53% on the LOB, which is also, it's just varies from year to year, but that's pretty close to where we should be. Any questions on anything, paint bills, any other items?
When do you have requisitions coming in? Will that be in June?
They're coming in now. Yeah, we haven't started doing a lot of requisitioning yet, but they were due on May 1st and some of them are still trickling in. So we did something a little different this year with Andy's help, and Dustin Stuckey was a real help in this. We did that all online this year. It was just because otherwise the teachers be in and out a lot, and this was a good time to make that switch, and he had some coding expertise that helped us get to that point. I think it's going okay. I haven't heard anything different.
That's the first one, it's going well.
Yeah, so that was, basically I put our requisition on an online form, and they're doing all of it online and sending it straight. When they hit submit, it goes to the principals, and then they submit it, it goes to the district office. So it's worked really well and been a good change, I think. So
For sure.
yeah. Anyway, but those come in. We don't get all that stuff right away as we wait and see kind of how things are going, and then we may or may not
So
requisition.
say, how's that look? We don't really have a good feel for that.
Don't have a great feel for it yet. I know we have some curriculum, some math curriculum that's gonna be fairly heavy, renewal stuff like that, but
We try to get our June payroll done and then we kind of look and see how much money we have left.
yeah, we wanna make sure everybody gets paid first before we start buying everything, so.
Any more questions on the consent agenda? If not, the amount that I'll read for the bills will be different than what was mailed. It'll be minus that. So I would make a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting on April 8th, the minutes of the special board meeting of April 22nd, treasurer's report for April 30th, 2020, reimburse petty cash for the high school in the amount of $140.90, and that the bills be allowed in the total amount of $229,503.49 for May 13th, and April payroll in the amount of $423,510.80.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Moving on to old business, graduation.
I just wanted to go back over the high school graduation date being in there, but the reason that this came to the forefront, I wanna make sure that we get everything clarified and everything's clear on that. And I, of course, talked to Tony, and the schools, there was several schools around there, well, all across the state that were going to do some drive-through graduations like this weekend in phase one, and they got, anything that was in person got canceled. So I just wanted to make sure that we gotta make sure that we're following everything in the governor's guidelines and making sure that everything's clarified and in line with the county health department. But we should be okay in a phase out if we get into the phase out, which starts on June 15th. The thing that concerns me is that, even doing it at the track, social distancing would be a real problem. If we still have to social distance, I don't think we could do it. There's just no way to police it. But I don't know if that would, supposedly in that phase, that we wouldn't really be in social distancing at that point.
And we're
So
July
maybe, yeah,
18th.
July 18th at 7 o'clock. Do you have anything to add to that, Tony? Mr. Heward?
No, I was just, if we have to have any crowd control or any of the social distancing, then we'll do the virtual graduation, same time, same date. So that graduation will be that time, just whether it'll be virtual or traditional.
Have we ever considered, I know some larger schools, they give tickets like a max attendees. Might be something not that we'd want to do that, but I know a lot of larger schools, that's how they handle their graduations.
Yeah, I think that larger schools do that anyway. They limit their invites, but I can just see at our school, if we have, a limit of 4 tickets per graduate and some not abide by that, and policing, and well, they brought 15, but I only got to bring 4, and who gets to police that, and I don't know,
Yeah.
just potential problems there.
In lieu of a completely virtual where parents couldn't come at all, that might be something we consider.
Well,
I mean, you'd have to have a ticket to be admitted,
right.
essentially, but
I know that we've had some parents calling on this about sending invitations and when will the word be finalized and this and that. I know it's a big deal to these parents and these kids, and rightfully so. We talked a little bit about making a determination on July 8th board meeting night of, where are we at on it? Or at least looking at it on that night too.
On July's board meeting.
July 8th gives us 10 days in advance, but I don't know if that helps.
So Tony, you said no matter what, if it's virtual or everybody in person, we're planning on July 18th.
Yes, that would be our plan.
Which
And
gives- Yeah, got it.
July 8th, and that's when I would like to determine whether it's going to be a traditional graduation or virtual. Jocelyn has put a real nice product together as far as a virtual graduation, music and the whole how to do it, and all we do is plug in our student speeches and names and whatnot. So there's a product out there already free,
Johnston's.
Since we're Jocelyn users anyway. So it would be pretty quick and easy to do if we decide to go the virtual route.
So virtual, they wouldn't, no students, nobody would be here then. So how would you just mail them their diploma?
That's one way we could do it, I suppose.
If we did a virtual, is there still a way they can come get their diploma, I guess, that's a big deal to some.
Yeah, I mean, we can always set it up where they can come pick up their diploma, because we're doing a Chromebook check-in, so. I hope we don't have to worry about it, honestly.
And the point is that we gotta be compliant, but we picked a good
Right.
date, cause we really have 2 delays. It looks like we could be delayed twice and still be good that date. I mean, cause if phase out now is June 15th, 2 delays would be July 15th, we're still after that, so. So I think it was just with the drive-through graduations that people thought were okay and then kinda got shut down.
Yeah, I agree. I think we made a good call on the date, for
They,
sure.
they had to postpone or not have them at all, and I'm not sure what a lot of those schools did, so I'm glad that we I'm glad that we were out there a ways.
And several Topeka schools I know picked like end of June dates, so it's like one delay, they're done. So I think that's just what you wanted to cover, wasn't it? That
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there and make sure we were all
And
good.
now parents, they can have announcements, right? It's like July 18th, no matter what format we're using, we
Right.
can send an announcement out.
Right.
okay. Any other questions on that? New business mechanical bus inspections.
We have to, every year, we put the bus inspections and servicing out for bid, and Haskins was low bid with $90 for a bus inspection, $75 for service and labor. So we just need a motion to approve the bus inspections from Haskins Oil.
Move to approve the bus inspections as bid from Haskins Oil.
Second, aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. New business number 2, preschool mobilizing literacy grant.
Okay, Mrs. Paul, you jump in whenever you want to here. What we had is some news come to us here, I don't know how long ago it's been now, but it's been since the COVID pandemic situation that we got word that the Osage City preschool that we had been scholarshiping the 3-year-olds over there with preschool are closing. They couldn't get a teacher trained for next year based on the situation they were in, I guess. So what we would like to do, we don't want to leave those 3-year-olds just sitting with nothing, no preschool in town whatsoever. So we would like to shift our summer academy and our mobilizing literacy to more of a 3-year-old, 4-year-old program similar to what Santa Fe Trail has. And we had visited with the mobilizing literacy director about that, and I don't think we see any problems. Mrs. Paul, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna give you an idea of how things would actually run in the school. Right now, we have actually 6 4-year-old preschool programs that are running. We have 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And what we would do is we would minimize that to 3 4-year-old programs, which would still have plenty of room for our 4-year-olds. And then we would have 3 3-year-old programs. And I think that would work out well in our building. I've already talked to our preschool teachers. They're a little apprehensive about having 3-year-olds, but when I tell them that this is gonna be best for our school and for our community and for our parents, I think that they're very much on board. And basically what would happen is that we would offer 2 3-year-old classes in the morning and a 4-year-old class in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we would flip-flop that. And so therefore, we would have 2 4-year-old classes and a 3-year-old class. There's a lot of advantages about having 3-year-olds in our building, so I want to talk to you real quick about those. Those students would actually learn our school routine for 2 years because it would be 2 years before they'd actually be in kindergarten. They learn the rules, they learn the structure, they learn about the staff, and they learn from older peers. They get 3 hours of instruction every day, 5 days a week, which is much more than probably what they're getting right now. The morning students would actually get breakfast fed to them. The afternoon students would get a snack. The big thing about this is that I think one of the reasons why the Osage City preschool did not have a huge amount of attendance and when was because of the transportation, because they did not transport. And that's a big advantage for us because we transport kids that are on a regular bus route. So we would transport 3-year-olds. And then if they go to a certified daycare in Osage City, we would transport to and from that daycare too. And right now, Mr. Hutton and I have been talking about the other advantage is that our parents would not have to pay any fees. Now, that could change, but the fees would be minimal compared to what they're paying right now, which I think is like $55 a month for 7 months.
Something that
A lot of advantages positives all the way around for having a 3-year-old program in our building.
One of the things that was really good, mobilizing literacy, what the whole premise behind that is kindergarten readiness. I mean, we want kids to be ready for kindergarten, and the more the reading instruction that we can get those kids at an earlier age, the better off. The Jones Fund came through with about $41,000 for us extra this year. That will help us in this cause to get going, covering some of the extra costs with that. And I just learned yesterday, Mrs. Paul and I learned that we had also applied for, with the help, and I give credit to Janine Henry with 3 Lakes. And by the way, we've already had 3-year-olds in the building. They were just in the 3 Lakes preschool, not our preschool. It's not like 3-year-olds being in our building is a new thing. It is not. We have 2.5-year-old kids in the building, so that are in 3 Lakes. But we also, through Janine Henry's help, applied for the preschool pilot program, and we learned that if those funds are actually covered with the budget at the state, we would get another $19,000 to help with that. So between mobilizing literacy and that $41,000, I'm assuming is a one-time deal because of the COVID through the Jones Fund. We feel like we can pretty well cover not all of the preschool, but a good chunk, a good portion of the preschool funds. So, and the preschool pilot program can be year to year. We don't know how much money you can get year to year, but it's a possibility that you can get that grant over. I don't think the $41,000 is going to come every year. Now, we do expect that the $25,000 or so that we get with mobilizing literacy will continue. So if you take the $25,000 plus, hopefully we continue to get that, that preschool pilot grant that covers a good chunk. That covers salaries and if transportation costs, whatever, that snacks, that's about it. Those 3 things. No, salary's main thing. And we talked, Mrs. Paul, why don't you talk about how we, look what we're talking about from shifting from summer academy to this, if you would.
Yeah, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have talked multiple times about, do we have summer academy, do we not have summer academy? And we're not gonna make a decision about that, I don't think, until the end of May, at that beginning of June. I think Mrs. Reed, who is our director of summer academy, feels that if we can make a decision by the beginning of June, whether to have it or not have it, if we do have it, we can get out our information to parents in plenty of time before it starts off in July, which I think it's July 6th through the 31st. However, the original plan for Summer Academy was to improve our literacy scores. Well, since then, the state has really turned to kindergarten readiness, which that's great. And then we changed our focus for Summer Academy to kindergarten readiness too. And because of that, if we do house the 3-year-old and a 4-year-old program in our building, we really don't feel like Summer Academy would be needed anymore because our kids would already have 2 full years in our building versus a month in our building to get ready for kindergarten. So a lot of the funding for our Summer Academy, like Mr. Hutton said, the Mobilizing Literacy Grant, that's where we get our funding for Summer Academy. That money would actually be put towards our preschool programs.
We're doing this with existing teachers, is that correct?
Yeah, we're not talking about adding any staff right now. I think Mrs. Paul would like some staff, but I think at this point I think right now we can handle it. What we have, just to explain the staffing, we have our preschool with a teacher and a para, and then we have 2 3 Lakes preschool teachers, and they have paras as well. So there's actually already 3 teachers and paras in each one of those rooms. So, and the the Three Lakes paras, or Three Lakes rooms have two paras?
Yeah, they each have 2 paras.
So we're talking about 3 teachers and 5 paras total for the program. So it's existing staff is what we're
How many
talking.
kids will there be,
I was just,
approximately?
I think we could have anywhere from, I don't know, 30 to 40 kids in each grade level or each age group.
What was the question, did you say?
How many
How
kids?
many kids approximately? How many did we have last year?
Last year, I believe we had around 45 students, but that's kind of deceiving because like Mr. Hutton said, some of those students were 3-year-olds and some of them were like 2 3/4-year-olds. So
Yeah,
So we got a
that's a little
guesstimate on the
bit,
number
but around
for,
45. I would say in our 3-year-old program, we are going to say that having 15 in each section, so that would be 45 students, would be probably our maximum that we could house.
and that's 3 and 4-year-olds.
Comfortably, I should say.
That's 45
So
additional.
45 3-year-olds, 45
right,
4-year-olds.
right, in that
So
neighborhood.
90 kids total.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
that
an
would be
average.
45 3-year-olds and
That's about what
45
our class sizes run anyway.
I like the transition. I like the plan. It sounds good.
It's moving away. The thing that's a little bit weird about it is we're moving away from our existing plan with mobilizing literacy that we've been on for 5 years, but this thing got thrown on us, and I do think it's a better plan. It's better for parents, it's better for kids. But
That old program has evolved quite a bit from what it began in the first place, where you
Yeah.
took kindergarten and first graders as well. So I mean, it just
Yeah.
kind of a natural progression as this goes along.
Yeah.
And that funding is considerably more than what we've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, that 41,000 was much appreciated. That'll help us a lot in this transition. I don't expect that to continue, but I do expect the mobilizing literacy grant as we know it to continue, and hopefully this preschool pilot program the money will come through and help out too. We don't know for sure. There's a lot of funding questions up in the air right now for this year.
Sure.
So
That mobilizing literacy has stayed pretty
constant.
Pretty constant.
We've had it for 5 years, and I mean, we've talked to Dennis Keir down there, Dr. Keir at ESU, and he feels like it's gonna continue. The Jones Fund's really bought in. This is my opinion, Mrs. Paul, you can say what your feelings are, but I think that the Jones Fund has really bought into this kindergarten readiness philosophy, and I think they're not going away with this. They're hanging their hat on it, so.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think most of the people most of the school districts that are involved in the mobilizing literacy grant have taken their money and involved and invested in their preschool programs.
It's pretty constant, and then a lot of them have transitioned naturally like we have to that, so.
Well, and part of the big success to that's been that transportation as well, hasn't it?
That's helped a lot. It's just, that helps the parents out a lot.
How much of the current funding did we historically grant to the preschool?
10,000.
So
So out of the 20,
keep that 10.
yeah, that 10,000 won't go to the church preschool, the Methodist.
So we've been
preschool.
running our summer academy on the 15.
Yeah. So it'll help us.
So we get 10 grand, we've been given 10 grand.
Yeah.
Been offering scholarship.
Did I hear it correctly, summer academy for 2020, it was planned to already be kindergarten readiness? So it was already planning.
Yeah, we have it in the books to happen this year,
Okay.
and
That's fine.
then we would continue to do it this year if we think that the thing that's really hanging us up on doing it this year is social distancings with preschool kids. That's just impossible. I
Right,
mean,
but it's
yeah.
just, it's that young age though.
yeah, so
We
we're,
got rid of summer academy, we're still hitting that young age by bringing in 3-year-olds now.
yeah, and the need for the summer academy, when we're gonna have these kids in 2 full years before they hit kindergarten, we don't need that as much anymore. It's just the need's gone, so.
Yeah, I think the reason why we would have summer academy this year is just to possibly get in some of the students that we know would benefit from a jump start into this next school year, especially since we've gone 8 weeks without actually physically seeing those students in our school.
Mrs. Paul, how many kids do you normally serve in the summer academy?
Oh, you would ask me about that. I would say probably around 40 students.
About the same, okay. Thank you.
Any questions on any of that? I mean, that's a lot. It's been a big change for us too, so.
It'd be a very positive change, adding them to it.
I would make a motion, we approve the additional funding of $41,000 by the Jones Trust for kindergarten readiness.
Second.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. I would make a motion to accept the 3-year-old preschool students with our existing preschool programs beginning August of 2020.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. New business number 3, summer activities guidance.
Pass those around if you. Oh, sorry about that. I've got some.
I'm just kidding. I'm second, so
Got
it's
some
out here.
spray in there if we need it.
Jay's at the end, so we're fine.
I've seen sooner than
Mr. Hewer, Mr. Raymond and I have been working on this document. This has been kind of the hot topic here with CASHA, with Activities Association, and what's gonna happen, and coaches have been asking, what are we gonna be able to do, and when can we do what? And it's been, kind of we were hesitant to put anything out until after this board meeting because we wanted to go through it with the board and review it first. But this document was put together basically by reviewing the government's plan, or the governor's plan of phase 1, 2, 3, and phase out. It was the guidance that the Activities Association put out, and then I sent it over to Jackie, what's her name? Patterson. I have the hardest time remembering. Jackie Patterson, who's our county health department, to kind of get a blessing on this. And it's something that all the superintendents in the county have kind of been working to get ready for. But we don't feel like we can do anything until June 1 at the very earliest date. And that is the start of phase 3. That is in conjunction with the governor's phase out staying on the dates that they're supposed to be on. This thing is kind of set up, and you guys, Mr. Riemann, Mr. Hewer, jump in anytime. It's basically set up on weeks, not dates, because we know that the dates might change.
Yeah.
One of the requirements that's gonna be really different by the Activities Association this year than any other year because of the COVID is that kids are gonna have to have 3 weeks of conditioning, phased in conditioning before they can participate in any fall activities because they haven't been active in anything really. I mean, some of them have been doing it on their own, I'm sure, but that's what this basically is premised off of. So it's not so much what the date is, it's when the week starts. And it spells out when team camps can happen and I don't know that I would say this is so much as of a recommendation from us as just a guideline that we have to follow based on all of those 3
So
organizations.
when I read this and it says week 1, a 3-hour limit on physical activity, I'm assuming that's a 3-hour limit for the week, not per day.
No, those 3-hour limits come from the Activities Association, and I watched
So that's
it.
3 hours per day?
Yeah, but what they're also saying is
And 5 hours per day?
if you were in it's a lot, and it is a maximum. It's a lot, and it's a maximum, not
we only did.
not to say that you have to do it, but it could be like you have an hour in
Weights in the morning.
weights, and then you
Right.
have an hour for football and an hour for basketball. I don't know whatever that combination might be, but
Because then it says no outside competition, so it's gonna be
right.
whatever that 3 hours is, it's not with anybody else.
And one of the things that we have to comply in there is the social distancing is all the way through. That's, I mean, no more than 30 in a place, and in my personal opinion is 30's too many in our weight room for social distancing. I don't think you could really do that.
On that, no outside competition, does that mean there will be no outside workouts like running and what have you, or just competing?
Would be like, it would be competitions like 7-on-7 or
But everybody could
basketball.
go do a mile run or something
Yeah,
like that.
you could do that.
Yeah. A lot of districts have actually said, well, for the week one, they're not doing anything indoors. They're only gonna do outside conditioning,
That makes more sense.
not inside. You know, everybody's doing something different, but
Yeah, I mean,
I think the big things I saw when I saw Keisha release this was, you know, even though the public mass gathering is 90, for us at the educational, it's still 30 on June 1st. You know, so I hadn't read that deep into the phase out to see, well, yeah, the public can be at 90 down on Market Street, but in this high school gym, you can only be at 30, or in the weight room, you can only be at 30.
So does that change on the 15th of June, or does it stay the same?
It goes to,
it's,
90 then?
when you go to phase out, it talks about social distancing where applicable. So it's
it doesn't
kind of,
have a number anymore.
right,
it's kind of,
Take your square footage and divide it by 6,
Yeah.
and that's what you got.
I would think that, but I think social distancing is gonna be important throughout the summer. That's my personal opinion, you know.
You know, the other big thing, my brother is a coach in another district, and he's a basketball coach, and his boys don't like to run. Well, he was saying, well, just if you show up in week 3 thinking you're gonna get out of the conditioning part, it's set up to me like it's on an individual basis. You know, each kid has to meet week
Yeah,
1
it's-
requirements. You can't skip a session or skip a week and think you're gonna go straight to outside competition.
Meaning the kids start on week 10 or whatever.
Right.
They personally have to start at week 1.
Right.
No matter when they start, it's.
Each individual student or athlete has to have 3 weeks, those 3 weeks of conditioning
Well,
to
if
phase
somebody's on
in.
vacation week 1 and they start week 2, they actually start week 1 schedule.
Right.
That way it says they gotta catch up.
And then, as always, it's, go ahead, I'm sorry, jump in.
Mr. Hatton, you keep saying 3 weeks, it's 15 calendar days. It's actually 10 days of conditioning.
So 2 weeks.
For
Yeah.
each one, the one that says week 1, that's a 10-day or 15-day period.
Yeah, so it's 15
No.
calendar days, so
Week-
week 1 and
Week
2.
1 would be 5 days.
It's not
Two is
7,
5 days.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 15 calendar days. That screws me up, but
But those are the big things.
This
I
is
was
why
thinking,
I tried to read the Keisha thing and I was like,
Yeah.
close. Somebody smart.
isn't that right, Mr. Hewer and Mr. Reaman? They have to have those conditioning days in as individuals before they could start in the fall.
That is correct.
So while it is voluntary, I mean, it's always voluntary through the summer. You know, there's no, obviously this year it's very voluntary. But they do have to do that before they can come in and start in the fall activities, because I think they're really worried about kids and making sure that we bring them in slowly and not, you know, they haven't, you don't wanna bring a kid in who's been doing nothing for 5 months and then all of a sudden hit them hard with.
So what's the deciding factor, Tony, on when we start week 1? It says June 1st is the earliest date. What is the deciding factor on whether it starts then or not?
Governor's plan.
Coming out of phase 3.
Whether we go
we're-
to phase 2.
We
So
come
that's
out
part
from
of
phase 2.
right there, right?
It's coming off of phase 2 and starting phase 3. That's
Okay,
what starts
So
in
if we're not
June.
starting phase 3, then we're not gonna start June 1st, is that?
That's right.
So this will start in phase 3.
Whenever phase 3 starts, week 1 can start.
Okay.
And that's up to our discretion too. I mean, each county could be different. Like if you have
Right, on when
Lyon
the phases go in.
hotspots, they can put it back still, that's up to everyone's discretion.
So basically, it's whatever phase the county's in.
Right.
Because at that point in time, it's not, the state's not mandating that we're in the same phase they are.
Right.
We can be more strict than the governor, but not less strict.
So if the governor says we're not, if we're not, then if the governor says no, then it's a no.
It's a no.
It doesn't matter what the county says.
Exactly.
If the governor says we're not phase three, we're not phase three.
She
The county
can't be-
make us phase three.
She can't be less strict than the governor.
So we do have to follow the state then.
Yes,
So if we're
but
not
she
phase
can make
three,
it more strict than the governor.
Right, I mean, but if
She
the
wanted
governor
to.
says
I
we're
doubt
not
if that
going
happens.
phase three, then we're not going to week
We
one.
have to be in phase
Right.
3 before we start. But either it have to be that way in the
County or
governor,
governor.
but the county can can
But the
say,
county, if the state's in phase two, the county can't make us phase three.
no, not
They
at
can
all.
go the other way.
So what do we do for those student athletes that are doing things outside of Osage City in our travel baseball, travel softball that starts already end of May into June? From an hours perspective, like when it says 3-hour time limit a day, you know, if they already have an
That's a good
hour
question.
or 2 hours in on Monday training for that, does that have an impact on our 3 hours?
The hour limit isn't any different than,
I wouldn't think so,
Historical.
because it,
What it is any other summer.
yeah, I don't think this limit is because of
Yeah.
COVID. I
don't-
think this limit is
I
the
don't think
standard
those
already.
hours
That's
would count.
occasion.
this is based on Acacia activities only.
So they're playing on a,
So if somebody's on an
Acacia
AAU basketball
Right.
team, they can,
I don't
they can
think-
practice and play as much
We may
as
not
they
know
want.
that that's even
So does
happening.
that count towards, will that count towards our 3 hours of it?
No, I wouldn't think so, because this is
It's
just
vacation
Acacia
mandated
activity.
activity, yeah.
They don't have to do all 3 hours, it's a maximum of 3 hours.
But what the question was, if they're playing an activity like baseball or traveling basketball or something, that doesn't count towards any of that. They have to do whatever it is there at the school, correct?
Correct, local district has by that condition.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't know if this is so much, this really isn't, I don't know that I'd say that this is our recommendation, it's just it's just following the guidelines set forth, so.
I think,
Well, that would be somebody too, if they just if they wanna go out and run on their own or lift on their own at their house. That doesn't go towards this either.
Not at all.
I mean, that's
That's a good
kinda the
example.
same thing.
I don't think, I mean, I
Well,
think
we
I
don't show
agree,
swimming
we
that
would
show
just,
up like they're doing in there.
I agree that we should follow these guidelines unless something in Osage County causes us to need to react differently or be more stringent, then that's when we'd have to make a different call, but
I think
luckily, knock on wood, we've been very,
I think my only question, Tony and Tim, would be, just cause I see how my kids clean at home. So once we do open the weight room, you know, who's gonna be responsible for making sure that weight bench is cleaned in between kids, so you know, if that's the CDC guideline, I don't know. I listened to the webinar today at lunch, and all the Acacia wanted to do was recommend you follow the CDC guidelines for equipment cleaning, but I couldn't find them, so. I didn't know who that was gonna fall on, just because I can see the kid wiping it really fast and running to the next lift, if that was gonna be the coach's responsibility, or.
One of the things that I've talked to Mr. Fager about is if and when we open that weight room up in the summer, is making sure that we have squirt bottles worth of disinfectant spray and paper towels at every station.
Mhm.
And honestly, I think we're gonna have to train the kids to do it, because if you don't, the coach is gonna have to do it the coaches could do it, but
I agree, I think the kids
How
should do
many
it, but I
coaches
think
are
the
in there?
coaches kinda have to watch.
well, we don't know what that's gonna look like just yet. They'll have to meet with the coaches.
That could be a big thing there, is making sure we have sufficient.
One of the things that I think we need to do is make sure that we have the kids, we don't have more than 30 kids there at one time, at one time period, and then we split them up even more from that point. 15 in the weight room would be a lot, in my opinion, for social distancing.
Do we figure that we need one instructor there for how many kids? So you got 30 kids, do you need?
We have two or three coaches there typically anyway, don't we? Two for sure.
Yeah, two for sure.
And usually, in the
Is
past, we've
that
had
enough
three.
if we have 15 kids? I mean, I don't know what all is in the weight room, how many different bases are they be at?
There's a lot, but
I
the
mean, to
kids,
make sure that
our
there's
kids
one-
know how to lift and they know what they're supposed to do in there, but, you know, I would think as long as we could split them up into different smaller groups, we'd be in good shape.
Or maybe you offer more sessions.
We're gonna have to offer more sessions or do something,
Stretch it out.
yeah, I don't see how you can't, honestly. And they may have to be shorter sessions, you know,
Or the protocol, if usually they're going from spot to spot quickly,
yeah.
just, they're moving, they're gonna have to slow that down a little bit. I think the kids are gonna have to wipe down, but there is gonna have to be some adult kind of
Right.
overseeing to just make sure
At least they'll get trained.
to get trained, yeah. And
And
then
we-
maybe at home we'll get some more
We do also,
action.
we have, and I've had Dan order 2 more of these, and this is something we could do at the end of the day too, is we have a electrostatic sanitizer
I've seen that
that
on
we can
planes.
spray those down with. And that may be something we wanna do every day anyway, at the end of the day or before the, whatever, in addition to the wiping and.
Are we gonna check temperatures when they come in, or are we just gonna take their word that they feel okay? I mean, right now, you go anywhere, they wanna check your temperature before you get in.
Yeah, right.
Most kids, if they know they gotta do the work.
We've ordered
they can
some-
Practice.
We've ordered some thermometers, I don't know that we'll have them in, we have one of those in the district right now.
Well, the other
That's-
thing is, this is all stuff I've had to
Think
you know,
through your.
contemplate in my time in my office, so. The other thing is documentation or documentation of the athletes
Who's
that
in there?
participate, when they participate, because if someone does get sick, you got to be able to trace it back to a particular place. Masks, I would assume would be if everything does start June 3rd and it's phase 3, masks at that point are optional. But I don't think we necessarily discourage if a student or if a teacher wants to wear one during that time because of the confined space and the limited airflow and all that stuff.
We've ordered some masks, but I don't know when we'll get them. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to have,
It's,
I think some, some of the people have them, obviously, people have been making them and whatnot, but you'd have to have, we've ordered like a case of masks just to have, hopefully we can get it when we need it, but
they're nearly impossible to find
yeah.
if you're not a medical
They won't even
Right.
facility.
One of the other items listed on the webinar at lunch today from KASB was the PPE for the actual coaches if somebody's injured.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got gloves or face mask or something for the coach to treat the athlete, because before they were trying to stay apart, well, now you have to come together. So.
Yeah, I think though, to your point, Corey, I think it'd be a good idea for us to make sure we keep a log of who's there. And
Well,
when.
and it doesn't have to be a very detailed log. I mean, you just need like the name of the student and the time that they were there and whatnot, so.
Have a log sheet and get their name and temperature right there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's during that time, that's what has to be, done.
I was gonna, is there a protocol that's in place that protects, let's just say, playing devil's advocate, somebody comes in here, has a temperature, everybody gets sick, or 4 or 5 people get, and they know it happened here, what's our liability?
That's the $64,000
And what's our
question.
protocol on
nobody
what we're
knows
doing
the
to make
answer.
sure
We
that
would
doesn't happen?
first thing we do is contact the county health department.
So
They
that,
give us-
that's why my question is there a way, we should maybe, I'm thinking because you go anywhere, the first thing I wanna do is check your temperature. And they ask you the crazy questions, have you been to any of these hot spots? If we're asking that, then we're probably protecting ourselves from a school point. And if we're checking their temperature, we know they don't have a temperature going in. That might be a way to protect us, but that might be something we wanna ask the county nurse too, or whoever, I mean.
Well, we've had several conversations with her, and has not, that's not come up, but
That's why you document, that's why you clean, you're diligent in
we
that-
could do
those
waiver
things,
forms, with parents, but according to what they said on the thing today, a waiver is a paper trail to let people know that to just document
That's
that there's a
actually doing
risk.
what we're
But
doing.
Yeah, it doesn't
We're not
prevent
doing
you from being
anything.
sued.
The worst thing.
No, exactly.
No,
And,
but, yeah, I mean,
and parents
my
could
kid doesn't sign a
technically
waiver,
not
they don't
allow their
allow it.
student to go, but even then, if they choose to wait until the end of June, they're still starting at week 1, and everyone knows they're not gonna do that. I mean,
I think you just, it's like you said, you stress what you're doing now to the parents when the program's starting is,
Exactly.
hey, if you've been sick, don't send your athlete. If you've traveled these places,
Right.
don't send your
I
athlete.
think-
I mean,
I'm
So-
thinking of as a parent of an athlete who will do anything to be able to get involved, like to be
Ready-
active and
ready to start.
he'll be hiding that fever, he'll be hiding that cough, he'll be hiding all that, so I'm assuming, just kidding, Brecken, I'm sure you would tell mom, but I guess going back to the protocol, having them come in, just sign, hey, I was here. Sounds like pretty simple, have a clipboard there, but then everybody's touching the same pen.
Well, it doesn't have to be done like that. We can just have everybody's name on it. The coach does it and puts an X
Perfect,
on
yeah.
the date.
But what about, there are big box retailers, is it Menards, you can't even go in unless you get your temperature checked? So I don't think it's unreasonable to have the kids' temperature checked. I personally don't think it's an unreasonable expectation before they're in a group of other 30 kids when we're still in the middle of this unknown.
especially if you're spotting somebody on bench press and standing right over top of them. I mean,
Yeah, so I don't,
We've got some thermometers ordered. We've got one in the district, so.
I don't know,
we
am
can
I
get
the
it.
only one that feels like that's out of,
I think we should be taking temperatures.
yeah, I just think,
Just
Well,
in
I think
case
we should be
something
prepared
bad.
because we may have to do it for school when it opens back up. Who knows?
They're about $70 a piece. We've ordered 10 of those, so.
Were they the digital?
They're
They're just the ones you put
digital,
on
you
the-
put it on, I don't know.
I don't think you even touch, they
I don't
just,
know what you do with them. I have not seen it, honestly.
They got it at the courthouse, like, they
Yeah,
put
put it
it
up
up and
against
it
your
says
temple.
it reads it out. And if you're above 100.1 or what, I forget what the number is.
Yeah, we can do that. I say we can do that. I've gotta get my hands on that thermometer and it's gotta go from the nurse's station to the coach. One of the coaches will have to be responsible
well,
for that.
whomever is going to be in that weight room, is there a way that they could provide? I'm assuming they're gonna provide the parents of their sport or the students that are gonna be in there with the protocol that, hey, this is what we're doing to follow the guidelines that we have, taking temperature, masks are optional,
sanitizing.
sanitizing, et cetera. To me, I think we need to send that out or provide that to the parents, so they're aware of it, so they can kind of help too, cause
we usually do it that fitness kickoff night.
yeah,
Usually wait.
This will all have to be emailed out.
we're still dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that once they get in that weight room, they're not gonna care.
With seventh graders.
It's
Right,
gonna take
Well, yeah,
everybody to
I guess
follow.
middle
This
school too,
isn't-
so.
Just cause if everybody knows what we're doing, all the parents are on board, all the kids are on board. and
It's
everyone says
voluntary.
this isn't just
You're gonna have
for
some
kids.
parents that don't want their kids to be there.
Yeah,
right, which is,
Understandable.
understandable, I just, and it's not that I want to give the coaches more responsibility, they already have a lot on there, I just think it makes the most sense right now, not knowing
Sure.
what we don't know.
Might make sense on the cleaning of the equipment, but when you go station to station, I don't know whether you're doing it with disinfectant and paper towels or how that goes, to check into the next piece of equipment, and you've gotta use paper towel to turn in, drop there to do it, that way, there's some,
Thought paper towels were the best. We've got the paper towel rolls and we can put those at every station with a squirt bottle.
and if you had
And it
to
could
put a
be-
paper towel, trash can and a disinfectant before you go to the next station. Here's my paper towel, it's been used, and then go, at least makes, you may not get the greatest quality of cleaning, I grant you, but at least it's a conscious effort that everybody knows before you check into the next station that you have done something, and you've got a wet paper towel to show for it.
When you go
Oh,
to Jerry's, you grab a wipe and you wipe down the handles, so if you went to this equipment, you wipe it down. So you get up and you move to the next one, before you use it, you wipe it down.
Right.
Then that eliminates whether guesswork, whether somebody wiped it down or not, cause you're the one using it, you wiped it down before you even used it.
That makes sense.
That makes sense too, yeah.
Overkill's never gonna hurt if it gets cleaned twice, that's no big deal.
Well, Well, at least we're putting
Those weight
practices
benches
into
will be
place to
smart.
cover it. If something does happen, it wasn't out of neglect. I mean, we put a procedure in place to follow, so.
Well, we can put that document together to go out along with this, with the things that we're gonna be doing to safeguard, so.
Yeah. I think the parents would appreciate it.
You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony's in charge of
Coming up with the coaches, that list of things with the temperature check and the procedures that will be followed, I think is important to get out to the kids before we start.
And then what login attendance was the other?
Logging
one.
attendance. Okay.
Any other questions on that one? If not, number 4, Three Lakes report. We've met actually twice since the last board meeting via Zoom. Met on Monday. I mean, biggest things are money, of course. So I asked if there was anything known about a possibility of a 5th assessment. Really don't know yet, hopefully in May. They know the big thing with Three Lakes is in the charter per se, I can't remember the exact word, you have to have a certain percentage of cash at the end of the year based off of the total expenses that were spent. So that would be where, so if the cash isn't there to that expense level, then you have to do an assessment to each district to get to that cash level. So you can have more cash than that, but you can't have less cash than that. So hopefully in May, at the end of May, when we meet in June, they'll know more of that. They are putting out to bid the remodeling of the Frameworks facility. We've talked about that a couple times. The blueprint's finally been approved. And then,
Just want San Pedro.
right, it's that extra building outside of the high school is where Frameworks and Next Step Academy is. So that'll go out to bid. I would think those would be back for the June board meeting. And then just lots of staff changes. So a couple last second retirements. One was actually Monday. It was received Monday. I think that was Santa Fe Trail. And then several paras that had resigned. Some positions have been replaced, but just lots of staff turnover, which isn't different at Three Lakes. I mean, you've seen with us, I mean, we hired 2 Three Lakes staff, so with Jordan and with Mr. Lee, that then have to be replaced there. So it just kind of always seems to be a big cycle of staff there, so. We approved next year's calendar, which is basically just a big list of every district's calendar, is basically all it is. So they try to do a big calendar, so it says, you know, when our spring break is, when the other co-op district spring breaks are, when this district is off versus when this district is off. They have to track all 6 districts. We did approve the extended school year. For June, Kathy talked about, you know, they're still gonna not meet in person with students for the extended school year in June, but hopefully in July and August, they can start seeing their students in person again, so. Then we talked about a phone upgrade. Their phone system is like super ancient. I mean, it doesn't even sound to me like they have voicemail on an actual employee side. So they have a bid to go to a voice over IP system. But the superintendents had asked about getting it written a little bit different to compare the two. Right now their bid is to install it and lease the phones. And the superintendents from all the district wanted to see what it would be to purchase the phones in comparison to paying a monthly fee, so. Then the CARES money, they should get CARES money, and Dr. Mickelson said hopefully that would help with the cash on hand question I asked. But then, you know, her confidence of actually receiving that before July 1st is pretty low, so. Anything I missed from your meeting?
No, I think that's some of the we are gonna try to work with some extended year students through special ed. Mostly it'll be Zoom, but some kids just need more more time through the summer. We're gonna try to work with those kids as we can, which,
They did talk about guards, using the CARES Act money for guards or face shields for speech pathologists. They are trying to get a Fogger machine, is what they called it, that Mr. Hutton talked about, that we just ordered 2 more. They don't have one. Linden had came over and used it in their office while they were still working, but trying to get the co-op to actually own one of those disinfectant machines.
These are high school kids at this.
no, just it's a 3 letter.
This is at their actual office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking about extended school year, or are you talking about
Yeah, what kids are?
any kids
Yeah, any
who are on an
kid
IEP
So it
that
could be
need
any
extended
age group
years, extended school year?
Yeah, it
We
just,
have some kids are gonna need that.
right, just depends how their IEP is written,
Mm-hmm.
so. But the actual disinfecting machine was for the local office. They talked about if they should get one for Frameworks or if they should just contract with Santa Fe Trail to actually try to clean that facility more. Right now, the staff and the students, because they're all high school age students, some actually even young adults, with Next Steps, they do a lot of the daily cleaning there. So if school does start in August, contracting with Santa Fe Trail to try to clean that more than it has been in the past, so.
Now, these kids are all under IEPs, is that correct?
Yeah. So I think that was everything, so, any questions? Corey, rec report?
May 1st, the Flint Hills League Youth Baseball Softball Towns decided to cancel the summer season. Last night at the city council meeting, the city council voted 5-3 to open the pool June 15th. That's contingent upon following as long as we're in the phased out section of the first state of Kansas. We don't know about swim lessons yet. Those will be kind of decided, reevaluated the 1st of June. As long as the state is still on the path that it is, then we potentially could start swim lessons the week of June 15th, but no swim team, just for this summer. And then the pool will be, it'll be from June 15th to August 9th, and then it'll be open from 1 to 6, Monday through Sunday. Talked with Marcy DeWitt about water aerobics. It'll be kind of a situation where those people will have to somewhat social distance. Can't be super close together, but it's a large space, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's not like they have 100 people. Well, we might this summer, considering there's nothing else to do. So, but yeah.
We have been quarantined for 2 months.
You got a lot of chlorine between each of you, that'll cover something.
But I've been talking with Lynn a lot, back and forth, and Rod, the city manager. So Lynn has a fairly good plan in place for the pool, for cleaning, etc. She's looking at the week of June 8th to do lifeguard training. That's kind of been part of this too. The bigger hurdle for us locally is being able to train the guards within the social distancing restrictions. And what they do for their training session is they actually have a classroom group and then a water group. So they actually split the group into 2 sections. And so Lynn will, with that classroom group, she'll make sure that there's enough space in between them. And then the group itself will be smaller than it has been in the past too. So, but we could potentially be training guards from outside of Osage County, which we typically do, but that's a possibility, which is fine. But Ottawa will not open this year, their pool. I don't know about Emporia. We have a aquatic Zoom meeting Friday morning, so I'll probably get a bigger update about other towns, because essentially last week and this week were the city council meetings to determine all of that. So our 7-on-7, we had adjusted to doing a 1-day tournament and actually had picked before the school did July 18th as the tournament day. Well, when the school chose graduation for that day, then we started looking at other dates. And then following along with the CASHA guidelines. So we're now looking at July 25th as the tournament date. And so far we have pretty good interest from Burlington and Council Grove and West Franklin and basically everybody but Linden right now. So
You said
that's
the
good.
25th,
Yeah.
July tentative.
And then the end of July, that last weekend, is the Conrad Carlson softball tournament will go on that weekend. This will be their final tournament that they put on for the Conrad Carlson Foundation. So that date is still good at this point. So it's their 24-hour tournament. So may or may not have played in it. So, and then also Kathy Camarina in July has a musical camp that they do a youth drama play that they're going to put on, and that still is on track to go on. So that's pretty much it at this point for the summer. So
Questions? Moving on, admin reports.
I just got a couple things. First of all, just kind of some information things. Next year, we reported that we've got our enrollment well underway. We will be moving our band to a block schedule instead of a split schedule, with a large freshman group coming in and 3 large groups coming in. We just aren't going to be able to facilitate that split block. When those students were on split block, all those students that aren't in band and choir just don't have any classes to choose from. And we would have a lot of kids end up taking electives in the credit recovery lab or Spanish. And so if they were freshmen, advanced PE wasn't even an option. So we're going to be moving that to a block schedule next year, which is going to help out our schedules immensely and give students a lot more choice of classes to take. The other thing is that on tomorrow is today was the last day for seniors. They will do their check-in tomorrow. They'll pick up their caps and gowns and check in their Chromebooks and textbooks and library books, pay their fees, and have their final checkout. Now, seniors do get to keep their Chromebooks, so I do have a few that's finishing up some credits. There's some Washburn Tech kids and then some other kids finishing some credits. So those students will be able to keep those Chromebooks anyway. We'll touch them off tomorrow, Andy will, and then send them out the door with them to keep permanently. Everybody else will turn theirs in, we'll clean them and swipe them, and then at a later date, those seniors can come pick those up. May 21st, all other students will be in to pick up or to drop off all their textbooks, their Chromebooks, library books, and pay fees, and we'll have that all done, and the students will be done. That's all I have.
What's our graduation number this year?
Excuse me?
The total number of grads?
I think we were at 47 or 48, I don't know.
I think it's
That brings me up a good point, and I was gonna ask that earlier, but if we have that traditional graduation, I'm gonna need 2 board members to hand out diplomas. So if we are going to do that traditional graduation, if I could have those people, then I could at least have that ready for the program. 2 people interested?
I'll do it.
Who's that?
Bailey?
I can do
They'll
it.
have a softball tournament. You can do it.
I can do it.
Jay and Kelly?
Yeah.
The killer bees, Bailey and Bowen.
The killer bee.
I hope I have a softball
Yeah,
tournament.
we can throw Collins in there too.
You're our backup.
Alright. Jake.
Glad it's not
Thank
at 2 p.m.
We hear nothing.
Who's next?
They heard me in here.
Okay.
Middle school's next, sorry. We had our virtual awards assembly. I sent that out on Monday to students and parents. Heard some good comments on that. Again, not exactly what we wanted to do, but wanted to recognize all our students for their activities. Monday, I'll send out our virtual promotion slideshow that I've been putting together. So then I'll send it out also to parents and students, and you can share that with whoever and watch it whenever you wanna get with your family. You can have your own family party or however you wanna do that. Last day of school for 8th grade is May 18th and the 20th for 6th and 7th grade. Chromebook check-in for the middle school is May 21st from 8 to 4, and we'll just do that. They'll just come in the southeast doors of the middle school gym, walk in, drop off the Chromebook, and walk out the link doors and bring back anything else they might have, textbooks, library books. And then lastly, I just wanted to send out a thank you to our teachers, students, and parents for their efforts during our continuous learning. I really appreciate everything they've done. I think, we made the best of a bad situation, and I think we've learned some things we can do better and learned some things we don't want to do again in the future. So I just wanted to thank all of them for all their hard work on that. That's all I got.
The elementary awards assembly from the elementary school will be Tuesday, May 19th at 2:00. Andy's gonna set this up so it will be live, but it will also be taped so parents can actually watch it at their own convenience. I have several staff that's gonna be helping me out at that time. Our collection day for the elementary school will be Thursday, May 21st. Parents will turn in their students' Chromebooks and chargers according to a schedule that will be sent out on Monday via Swift K-12 and email. That schedule is also right now on the elementary daily announcements, so might wanna check that out if you're an elementary principal, or parents, so you know when you're supposed to turn in your Chromebooks for your students. And that's all I have.
Does the high school or middle school have a time, or they can come anytime during that for the drop off?
Middle school's just anytime 8 to 4. It should just flow right through.
Right, okay,
Walk right through the gym and be in and out, so it shouldn't matter.
great.
The seniors will be 9 to 11:30 tomorrow, and then on the 21st for all the other students will be all day.
Okay, perfect.
And the elementary, the parents, I wanted to make sure, because it's just the parents that are gonna be turning in the Chromebooks, according to a student's last name, but it'll start at 5 and end at 8. Very similar to our distribution day.
Perfect, thank you.
You'll be sending out emails with that information?
Yeah, we'll be getting that out shortly.
Any questions for them?
It's crazy.
That really
Alright,
hit fast.
20 minutes, alright, you see how that was written? As present with administration as requested, is that alright? You guys
Oh, yeah. Is that the,
start by ourselves for personnel? It's written different on here. You wanna start by ourselves?
yeah.
I move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, with administration present as requested for a period of 20 minutes. And we will return to open session at 8:33.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we're back in open session. I would move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, with Mr. Hutton present for a period of 20 minutes. We will return to open session at 8:54.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we're back in open session. I would move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel with Mr. Hutton present for a period of 10 minutes and return to open session at 9:05.
Second,
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. All right, we're back in open session. I would move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel under COMA with the administration present for a period of 20 minutes, and we'll return to open session at 9:25.
Second.
Aye.
I
Aye, motion carries 7-0.
Probably gonna have to have a break in here, sounds like.
We're back in open session. Do you want to take a 5-minute break before we go back in?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that possible? Thank you. YouTube,
Move 5 minutes.
5 minute, thank you.
Move quickly.
Well, I'm still saying 6 feet away
Still
from
take your
Kat.
20 seconds to wash your hands.
And we'll sing happy birthday.
All right, we're back in open session. I would move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA with the administration present for 20 minutes. Return to open session at 9:50.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Same.
as long as.
Be efficient.
All right, we're back in
Yep,
open
I will
session. I move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA with the administration present. We'll return to open session at 10:00.
Second.
I.
I
Aye, motion carries 7-0.
Shouldn't have said it quite that way.
All right, we're back in open session. I would make a motion, we approve the resignation of Deborah Brosh, approve Brody Nicholas as band teacher for 2020-2021, approve the transfer of Gilbert Gonzalez to middle school language arts, approve Kathy Camarina as dance sponsor for 2020-2021, approve the recommended teacher contracts for 2020-2021, and approve the recommended classified at-will agreements for 2020-2021.
Second.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Do you guys want to do that? You want me to do that? The board would like to clarify the language for the high school math position. I would make a motion on the extension to pass the praxis be changed to May 1st of 2021.
Second.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry. Motion carries 7-0. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.